Welcome to Microsoft Excel with EJD. In this video, we're talking about recording simple macros. In essence, when simple macros occur to you, you should be thinking about automation basically. So let's go as we look at this. Okay, so first of all, um, we introduce ourselves to macros. Introduction. So it is important to understand that a macro in Excel is a series. It's a series of commands. It's a series of commands and instructions, right? A series of commands and instructions that you group together as a single command to accomplish a task automatically. So basically, this helps you to deal with automation. Okay. Macros help you to deal with automation. So if there's a particular task you do from time to time, and you don't want to keep stressing yourself to do the same thing. So you can simply record a macro for the task, and then you can always get them done automatically. Okay, so you see that macros are especially useful for repetitive tasks. So useful for repetitive tasks. Repetitive tasks. Okay. Like formatting, data entry, or performing custom calculations. So if there are calculations you always perform from time to time, instead of having to do that each time, you can just go using macros to take care of them. All right. So another fact you need to understand is that macros are written in VBA, where VBA means Basic, Visual Basic for applications. Okay. So it's more like a kind of mini programming inside of Excel. So macros are written in VBA, which means Visual Basic for applications. But beginners can use the macro recorder to automate tasks without needing to write code manually. So in this video, our purpose is to use macro recorders without necessarily having to look at the VBA. Of course, we may need to see the VBA. After you record a macro, you can see the VBA to see what the macros have actually done. So, and that's as far as introduction goes. Okay, so let's move on to talk about the reason for this. Why use macros? Why use macros? Why do you need to use macros? Okay, first of all, since it automates repetitive tasks, so you can use macros to save time. All right, by automating repetitive tasks, like I just said, then it can reduce human error. So reduce human error in processes, right? So macros help you reduce human error in processes. Then it can also improve consistency. Since that's what you do from time to time, right? So you can just improve consistency, by using macros. Then, of course, anything that saves time and improves consistency will enhance productivity. All right. It will enhance productivity. Okay. Hey, let's do something practical now on Excel sheet. So imagine we have this Excel sheet and it shows us some kind of data. Imagine that you're in charge of a non-profit organization where you have activities from Monday to Saturday, and for after at the end of each week, you get the attendance for each day, the donation for each day, and then you are required to present your report in this format. You can see the heading is highlighted, it's bold, and centralized, just unlike this. All the data is centralized, by the way. And then you need total and average, which is not in the raw data, right? And you need to do this for different weeks. So for various weeks, you have all this raw data and you're expected to do all of this. Okay. So the first thing you need to do, if you need to use macros at all, is to get the developer ribbon. You have to customize your ribbon and have the developer tab, which you don't have here. So if you have it, then it's fine. But since you don't have it, the easiest way to get it is just go to File, go to Options, and then from there you can customize ribbon, and then come here, you see the developer tab. Then you just click on it and press OK. And with that, you can now see you have the developer ribbon here. So since macros are written in VBA, you have the VBA part here. So you can click on this to see VBA. But since we don't have any macros currently, so there's no need to do that. All right. So if you have macros, you click on this and you see whatever macros you have. Then if you don't need to record macro, you can use this. Then you can use relative references in case you don't. Normally, your data set should start from cell A1. I think it's better to always have that, right? But if you don't want to start there, you can use relatives. Use relative references. Then macro security it's already set for you. So if you have some security preferences, you can choose there. But I think the default is fine for most users. Okay. So now with that in place, now since we have the developer tab now, and we want to make this raw data into this format, so you can see the difference already, right? So you cannot see all the data here, like attendance is hiding, Wednesday is hiding, and all that, but everything is clearly showing here, and even the donation is formatted as currency with dollar. You need total, you need average, and then you have conditional formatting here, where any attendance greater than 30 is highlighted in some kind of something like pink color, so to speak. So to get that done now, let's go ahead to this. So I come to this macro sheet where I have exactly this raw data. So, and then want to transform it into this format. Okay. So, but then because you want to do that every week, so there's no point to have to do to go by it every week, especially if the data is large. So what you need to do in that situation is just come here and record macro. And to record macro, it will ask you for a name. So the default name this one is giving is macro 4, but I want it to just be weekly reports. Weekly report. Now, one thing you need to pay attention to is that the macro name cannot afford to be two words separated by a space. So it can be weekly space report, no, but it can be weekly underscore report or weekly report. Just make sure it's like one word like that. Even if you have many words, so make sure there are no spaces or there are underscores joining them. Then your macro can also have a shortcut. Say you can call it Control A, for instance, or if you want capital A, that'll be Control Shift A. But I think I'll just go with Control A to keep things pretty simple. Now you want to be careful not to use something like Control C or other functions you always use, or Control V, right? So if you use Control C, the macros control will override your need to copy and paste, right? So it's better you use Control A or some control you don't use, some shortcuts you don't use often, right? So now the description, you can describe that, okay, this macro, all right, um, gives or let me, macros automate store repetitive tasks, right? This macro automate weekly reports for an MPO. Okay, something like this. Then you just click OK. And once you click OK, the recording starts. So you can now see something like stop recording. If you come down here, it says a macro is currently recording. Click to stop recording. So we don't want to stop recording yet. So you can click stop recording also here. So we're on the macro sheet, right? So don't forget all those things. Now you don't want to click anything that is not necessary or move around unnecessarily, because it can easily affect the macros. So first of all, okay, let me even just go ahead and do the total. So I have total for this, and this is equal to sum, from B2 to B7, enter. I can come here and drag this for this other one, and then I come here again. I need the average. So here I have is equal to average. Okay, is equal to average. And then I have from B2 again to B7. Press enter. And then I drag this down here. Since attendance, okay, well, I can expand all this now. Can expand all of this now. So since attendance is about human beings, right? I want to round that off to the nearest whole number. So I just say round, open bracket, end, comma, 0. That's 0 decimal places. So that's nearest whole number. Then here, because it is money, we can have it in 2 decimal places. So I just come here and just say is equal to round, open bracket, end, comma, 2 decimal places, close bracket, press enter. So we have 2 decimal places. Now that all of this is done, so I can just come highlight everything. So remember, all the data is centralized. So I come to home rather, not file, I centralize. And then we need this to be bold. I make it bold. Then we need total and average to be bold. We make them bold. Then we have conditional formatting on this one for any attendance greater than 30. So we have highlight cell rules greater than, we have instead of 45.5, so we have 30, and we just say okay. All right. Another thing is we need this to be in dollar. So I just click this. And once all of that is done, okay, so I can just come back to my developer here and just say stop recording. Okay, so once that stops recording, don't forget the shortcut is Control A. But there are many ways to run. So I can now come to week one. Instead of having to go through all that stress anymore, I'll just come to macros. And once I come to macros, I have my weekly report. I'll just run it. And once I run it, you can see it just jumps out at us. So we have our job easily done. So we come to week two also. Instead of having to go through the step again, you can just press Control A, and that gets it done automatically. So for a totally new set of data, so you can come here too and press Control A or run the macro again. And so with this, you can automate your tasks. So because you just use macros like that. So, I mean, that's really very important. Now, we know that we write macros, in VBA. So another thing you can do is if you want to edit the macros, you can just come here. So if you want to see the VBA, so just come to whatever macro you have and click on edit. So it takes you to the VBA where all this task has been done. So it's more like this is the code backing all of that thing up. So you can actually edit whatever you need to, any editing you need to do here. You are very free to do that right here, from the VBA place now. So you can edit things around here. You can change whatever you need to change, but so it shows you whatever you have done, right? So you want to check out the VBA that way. So but in our situation, there's nothing to update like that, so there's no point trying to bother about this whole VBA thing. In subsequent videos, I'll be talking about VBAs on their own, right? So a few more information, and then we'll be done with this. So of course you can always so that VBA that I showed, right? You can always examine it and tweak it if there's need to do that, right? We are going to see that in subsequent videos. Now, how do you actually save macros? So I've not saved this particular one just to demonstrate this. So you don't save macros just like you save every other one, right? Every other kind of sheet, because it contains macros. So you can just come to save, and then so macros now is okay. By default, it has recognized it to be XLSM because it contains macros. So you can only save as macros. I think I want this to go to the desktop. So then I call this so this is my lesson 26 under Excel, and I say recording simple macros. Simple macros. So because it contains a macro, in case this doesn't give it to you, so you have to make sure you save it as XLSM, which is in macro format. So then I can save this now, and I come back here. Okay, so that is Excel macro enabled workbook. Then another thing we can consider is okay, I mean, we've done this already. Some best practices, right? You have to name macros clearly so that you can know what the macros are doing. Since it is something you can use for several, for in this case now, you can use this one macro for 52 weeks of a year, because since especially if you're expecting the same kind of data, so you don't have to walk through all the stress from time to time. So keep macro recordings very simple. So keep it simple, because if you click on necessary cells, it can actually mess things up. So use relative references if you want the macro to work on different cells each time. So if you want the macro to work on different cells each time, you can use relative references. Okay. So of course, don't forget to back up your workbook before experimenting with macros. So if you have some data, so make sure you can save that data and keep it away before you start working with macros. In case many times you may need to redo it because of some slight mistakes that might occur. So save your original document before you experiment with macros. That's really important. So macros have limitations, right? The macro recorder has limitations. So because it records exact actions. So as you're moving up and down, like as you're formatting, highlighting, and doing all of that, it is actually doing the exact, whatever you do exactly is what it follows. So it doesn't follow your logic, it just follows steps you are taking. So it won't loop through all sheets unless coded manually. So and it cannot handle dynamic conditions where like applying formatting to all rows with sales in column A. It can't handle things like that. So for advanced automation learning, for advanced automation, right, learning basic VBA scripting is the next step. So in the next okay, well, in the next video, we'll still talk about a little bit about macros. And then after that, I think 2 videos after that, we'll be talking about, I'll introduce VBA and then we'll do a bit more about VBAs. Okay, so you can see now that recording simple macros in Excel is a powerful way to boost your efficiency and eliminate tedious manual tasks. While it's beginner friendly, mastering it opens the door to a more advanced automation with VBA. So you can see macros can help you if you do repetitive tasks from time to time. So with this, I come to the end of this video where we have transformed this raw data, this raw data to this report format, by recording a simple macro, and then we applied it on different data from different weeks, and we got the results by just the click of a button, or by just using a shortcut like that you assign to your macro. So if you have not subscribed to this channel, you'll be missing a lot already because I have a lot going on here. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can always get alerted each time a new video is released. You can also become a member of the channel. Click on join and you see different levels of membership you can be part of to enjoy certain perks, certain special privileges. So be sure to join if you can. And of course, don't forget to like this video, comment, share, so that more people can have access to the great content I have going on here. Watch out for a bit more information about macros in the next video. Till I come your way again, keep doing data right. Bye.